If you've ever had a moment where your entire life split cleanly into a before and an after, then you already know how it feels to have your world collapse in an instant. My moment didn't come from a dramatic confrontation, a suspicious text message, or a late night confession. My life unraveled because of a glitch on my daughter's tablet. Before I continue with what I found and how it shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage, take 2 seconds to like this video and subscribe to Veilum so you don't miss the stories that will change how you look at people forever. And trust me, this one will stay with you for a long, long time. I always believed my family was normal. Maybe not perfect, but normal enough. My wife Sarah had a demanding job, sure. But so did I. We balanced our routines like most parents do, juggling schedules, homework, dinner, bedtime. Our daughter Lily was 7 years old, sweet, curious, obsessed with drawing animals and playing mobile games about building imaginary farms. Her tablet was essentially a digital coloring book and a repository of half-finished games. So when she came to me that Sunday morning complaining, "Daddy, my tablet won't play my videos," I didn't think anything of it. Just another tech issue. Just another minor parenting inconvenience. If I only knew. "Bring it here, Pumpkin," I said, half distracted, sipping coffee that was already too cold. She handed me the tablet, sticky fingerprints and all. The screen was frozen, stuck buffering on some random cartoon. I did the normal dad routine, close apps, restart device, check Wi-Fi. But when I hit the home button, I saw something odd. A new app, an app I'd never seen before. Vaultbox. Plain gray icon, no color, no hint of what it was. At first, I assumed it was another game she downloaded accidentally. Kids do that. They tap around the App Store like it's a game itself. I tapped it. It asked for a password. Strange. "Hey, honey," I called to Sarah, who was making breakfast. "Did you install something called Vaultbox on Lily's tablet?" Silence. I looked up. She froze, not completely, but just enough for me to notice. A half-second pause, too sharp to miss. "Oh," she replied casually. "I think that came with one of the educational apps." Her tone was too light, too controlled, but I let it go, because why wouldn't I? I trusted her. With everything. Still, something bothered me. Kids' apps don't come with password-protected vaults. So while Lily played in the living room, I did what any dad would do. I searched the App Store. Vaultbox wasn't a game. It wasn't educational. It wasn't even marketed toward kids. It was a secure photo and message storage app. You download it when you want to hide things. My stomach tightened. Why was this on a 7-year-old's tablet? I tried the obvious passwords. 00001234, her birthday, my wife's birthday. No luck. I stared at the forgot passcode option, but that required the email associated with the app. And the email listed wasn't mine. It wasn't Lily's, obviously. It was Sarah's. A cold, creeping feeling began crawling up my spine. Why was her email tied to a Vault app hidden on a child's device? Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to accuse her of anything. I didn't want to even picture the dark possibilities forming at the edges of my mind. But you know how sometimes life nudges you? How it places something in your path that you didn't ask to see. But once it's there, you can't look away? That was this moment. I clicked forgot passcode again. The recovery prompt appeared. A 6-digit code would be sent to Sarah's email. Before I even had time to think, I heard the familiar ding of her phone from the kitchen. A new email, right on cue. My pulse quickened. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one digging through devices. But this wasn't her phone. This was our child's tablet. So I walked into the kitchen. Sarah was standing there holding her phone, staring at the screen. Her expression was tight, like she was bracing for impact. "Everything okay?" I asked. She blinked, forced a smile. "Yeah, just spam," she said, locking her phone. Spam. Sure. I went back to the living room, trying to rationalize everything. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was some weird app glitch or some half-baked parental control tool she installed. But the seed had been planted, and once doubt takes root, it grows fast. Later that evening, long after Lily had gone to bed, I picked up the tablet again. The Vaultbox icon sat there, small and unassuming. But now it felt like a loaded gun. I tried the Vaultbox passcode screen again. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Failed login attempt detected. "Would you like to reset your Vault code?" I froze. Why would the app suddenly offer a reset? Then I noticed a detail I'd missed before. 2 numbers at the bottom of the screen. Reset link device. Samsung Z1. Active. Secondary device iPhone 12. Last sync 2 days ago. My heart dropped. Sarah's phone was an iPhone, but she also had a Samsung from her job, a work device she said she rarely used. There were 2 devices connected to this vault, and then something clicked. The only reason Lily's tablet would be recognized as a linked device was if someone used it to open the vault before, which meant only one thing: someone had accessed VaultBox through this tablet. And it wasn't Lily. I stared at the tablet, hands shaking. Something terrible was hiding behind that gray icon. Something Sarah didn't want me or anyone to see. Something she tried to bury in the one place she thought I'd never check. Our daughter's device. Before we get deeper into what I found and how it reshaped every part of my life, drop a comment below if you've ever discovered something on a device that you wish you hadn't. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for Veilum. People talk about intuition like it's some mystical force, but the truth is simpler. Your body knows when something is wrong long before your mind is ready to admit it. That night, as I stared at that gray VaultBox icon on my daughter's tablet, my stomach twisted with the truth I wasn't prepared to face. Something was hidden here, something I was never meant to find. I should have put the tablet down. I should have tried to sleep. But you can't sleep when your marriage suddenly feels like a locked door with someone else's key inside. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels staged, manufactured. Sarah was upstairs reading, or pretending to. Lily was asleep, snoring softly like she always did when she was exhausted. I sat alone on the couch with the tablet glowing in my hands. The Vault app blinked softly on the screen, waiting, daring me. I tapped forgot passcode again. A 6-digit code was sent to Sarah's email. Another ding upstairs. This time, I didn't go check on her. I didn't ask what it was. I didn't pretend things were normal. Things were not normal. Not anymore. I went to the kitchen, grabbed my laptop, and logged into the shared email account we use for bills and family notifications. Sarah had her own personal one too, but this shared one still got notifications from several apps she once used. If VaultBox sent any kind of alert to that shared inbox, I'd see it. I searched for VaultBox. Nothing. I searched for a device. Nothing. Then I searched for Z1. There it was. A deleted email, one she tried to remove without leaving a trace. But the way our email sync worked, her deletions didn't disappear permanently unless I cleared them too. The subject line read, "Your VaultBox sync code has been updated." My heart stopped. I clicked it. Inside was a single message. New sync device detected, Samsung Z1. Login confirmed. The date was 3 weeks ago, a Sunday. She had told me she was taking Lily to the park that day. Instead, she synced this vault to another device. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling the room tilt. 3 weeks ago was when she'd been distant, snapping at small things, staying late at work, taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. It wasn't inconclusive. It wasn't paranoia. This was evidence. I returned to the couch, pulled up Lily's tablet again, and tried to steady my breathing. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. What was I about to find? Photos, messages, videos? And why was it hidden through a child's device? The more questions I asked, the more I realized the answers were probably worse than I imagined. When I tapped forgot passcode again, something new happened. The vault prompted, "Would you like to reset your code using a recovery PIN?" And I hadn't seen that earlier. Maybe I didn't scroll down. Maybe the app didn't display it until multiple failed attempts. I didn't know, and I didn't care. I tapped yes. A new screen appeared, "Enter recovery PIN." I froze. A recovery pin wasn't something randomly generated. The user created it. What would Sarah use? Her birthday? Our anniversary? Lily's birthday? I tried Sarah's birthday. Incorrect. I tried our anniversary. Incorrect. I tried Lily's birthday. The screen glowed green. Accepted. I stared, stunned. Why use our daughter's birthday as the recovery PIN? Was it sentimental? Or did she choose it because she thought no one else would think of it? The vault opened. A folder popped up immediately. Name with a single emoji. My chest tightened. I tapped it. The screen flashed white before loading. Inside were 42 photos, 16 videos, and a folder titled Messages. At first glance, the thumbnails were blurred. VaultBox did that for privacy until you tapped a file. But even in blur form, the shapes, the proximity, and I had seen enough to know these weren't innocent. My breath left my body. I tapped the first photo. It opened to full clarity. And just like that, my life split into before and after. It was Sarah, lying on a bed I didn't recognize, wearing something I'd never seen, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. Her hand was extended toward the camera, toward someone else. I felt sick. Actually sick. I taped the next photo and instantly regretted it. And the next, and the next. Each one was worse. Each one carved deeper into whatever remained of the trust I'd once had. There were videos too, but I couldn't bring myself to open them. Not yet, maybe not ever. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. There was a ringing in my ears so loud it drowned out everything else. I forced myself to tap the messages folder. A new screen opened, long, scrolling chat logs. Dozens of them, timestamps spanning months. And the very first message I saw wasn't even a sentence. It was a heart sent by Sarah, not to me, to Z1, work phone. And then the first actual message appeared, from Sarah. I miss you already. That sentence hit harder than any image. Because it wasn't lust. It wasn't something impulsive or stupid. It was emotional. It was connection, intimacy, a piece of her she had taken from our marriage and handed to someone else. I scrolled through more messages, hands trembling. Some were harmless on the surface. Most weren't. But nearly all of them ended the same way. I'll message from Lily's tablet tonight. He never checks it. There it was, in writing, proof she was using our daughter's device as a secret channel. My stomach churned with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. This wasn't just betrayal, it was strategic, calculated. She hid the affair behind our child. I had no idea what to do, no idea how to breathe, no idea what I'd say to her, or if I even could. All I knew was that everything I believed about my life, my marriage, was a lie. And the worst part, this was only the beginning. Sometimes the moment you dread the most doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock politely at your door. It sits beside you quietly, like a shadow, until you can no longer ignore it. That's exactly how the confrontation with Sarah began. Quiet, ordinary, and yet utterly devastating. I spent the rest of the evening pacing, the photos, the videos, the messages, all stacked up in my mind like bricks waiting to crush me. I thought about telling her immediately. I thought about waiting until the next morning. And I thought about deleting everything and pretending I'd never seen it. But deep down, I knew there was no pretending anymore. She was going to have to face this, and I wasn't going to do it half-heartedly. Around midnight, Lily was asleep in her bedroom, snuggled into her little pink blanket, blissfully unaware that the foundation of her family was crumbling. I waited until the house was quiet and then went upstairs to Sarah's bedroom. I knocked lightly. No answer. I pushed the door open. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, scrolling like she didn't hear me. I stood there for a moment, just watching, trying to measure my own anger, my own heartbreak, trying to remember what had drawn me to this woman in the first place. Then I said it. Sarah, we need to talk, now. She looked up, startled, but not entirely surprised. Her eyes flicked toward the phone in her hand and then away, back to me, a faint quiver in her lips. I guess we do, she said softly. I didn't waste words. I laid the tablet on the bed in front of her, vault box open to the photos and messages. I let it speak for me. The look on her face when she realized I had found out was unforgettable. First came the flush of panic, then the flush of shame. Then, oddly, a calm settled over her expression, like she had been waiting for this day, prepared for my reaction in a way I wasn't. I can explain, she started, but I cut her off. No, don't. Just tell me why my daughter's tablet. Her voice trembled, but the words were clear. It was the only way I could. I didn't want you to see. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want Lily to know. Her explanation only made it worse. Not the betrayal itself, that had already cut deep, but the calculated way she hid it. You used our child's device, I said quietly. Not your work phone. Not an app on your own. My daughter's. Yes, she whispered. I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to break the world around me to release the pain burning through my chest, but I didn't. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her, trying to reconcile the person I loved with the person who could do this. Hours passed. We talked in fragments, sentences broken by tears and sobs. Sarah admitted the affair had started months ago. At first, it was emotional. Messages, lunch meetings, work emergencies that took her away for hours. Then it became physical, then habitual. And she had convinced herself she was in love, while simultaneously convincing herself she was protecting me. I didn't know what was worse, the lies or the rationalizations. Finally, as dawn crept through the curtains, I realized something terrifying. The confrontation hadn't fixed anything. It hadn't healed anything. It had only exposed the depth of the fracture. And Lily was upstairs, sleeping through it all, oblivious to the emotional rubble her parents were sifting through. The following days were a nightmare of avoidance and half-hearted apologies. Sarah tried to go back to normal, to pretend the affair hadn't happened. I tried to keep Lily's life as stable as possible, but every glance, every passing touch, every phone notification became a reminder that our marriage was irrevocably broken. I knew one thing: if we stayed together, it would be for Lily, not for us, and I wasn't sure either of us could survive that. After betrayal, nothing is ordinary anymore. The world doesn't feel the same. Even sunlight feels sharp. Even familiar rooms feel foreign. The aftermath of discovering your spouse's affair through your child's device is a slow-burning disaster you can't escape, and it doesn't matter how much you try to pretend. The days following the confrontation were a strange blend of silence and chaos. Sarah moved around the house as if nothing had happened, brushing past me with quiet efficiency. Lily chattered happily, oblivious to the tension in the air, blissfully unaware of the tectonic shifts underneath her small, innocent world. I tried to act normal for her sake. I smiled. I played games. I made pancakes. I even complimented Sarah's cooking one morning. But beneath it all, my chest was a cage of anger, of heartbreak, of disbelief. I tried to understand her reasons. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was dissatisfaction. Maybe it was a moment of weakness that spiraled out of control. But each rationalization felt hollow. Every excuse seemed like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. Sleep became a stranger. I lay awake at night, replaying every memory, every conversation, every small moment where I could have noticed the cracks forming, the small lies, the casual text messages she said were work-related, the nights she stayed late at work or at the gym when her phone was never out of her hand, and then the vault box, Lily's tablet, the images, the messages, the calculated secrecy. It wasn't just betrayal. It was methodical, deliberate betrayal. I began to notice things I had never considered before. The receipts from restaurants she claimed never existed. The sudden bursts of new perfume in her drawer. The hushed conversations on the phone she would step outside for. Each detail confirmed what I already feared. Our marriage wasn't just broken, it was contaminated. I considered confronting her again, but what was left to say? I know everything? I've seen the photos, the messages, the entire affair. Would that change anything? Would it undo the months of lies, of emotional betrayal, of trust shredded beyond repair? I realized it wouldn't. And in that realization, a bitter clarity emerged. I wasn't angry anymore. Not just angry, I was grieving. Grieving for the life I thought I had. Grieving for the trust that could never be repaired. Grieving for the illusions that had allowed me to sleep at night. Sarah tried to speak with me about us, about working things out. But each conversation felt like a performance. Her words were soft, measured, almost rehearsed. She was apologetic, but apologies don't mend a foundation built on lies. And then came the day I discovered something even worse. I was checking Lily's tablet, partly to ensure she wasn't downloading random apps, partly because some sick part of me couldn't resist, when I noticed a folder I hadn't seen before. Sent. It contained copies of messages Sarah had sent to her affair partner. Her phone number, timestamps, even screenshots of conversations. It was as if she had left a breadcrumb trail, knowing I might one day discover the truth. And in a way, she had. I stared at the screen. I felt fury, betrayal, and despair all at once. And then, surprisingly, something else. A cold, calculating calm. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was reality. This was the life I had to navigate from now on. I realized that protecting Lily became my sole priority. Her innocence, her happiness, her trust in family, these were the only things I could control. I set boundaries. I avoided confrontations with Sarah in front of her. I monitored our routines closely. And I began documenting everything: receipts, messages, inconsistencies, anything that could matter later. I didn't know if we were divorced yet. I didn't know if Sarah would ever leave. But I knew one thing: I could no longer pretend. I could no longer live in denial. Weeks passed. Tension thickened. Each day was a delicate dance. A glance that lingered too long, a door closing too softly, a whispered conversation in the kitchen. It all felt amplified, magnified, like every small detail was a clue in a house rigged with emotional explosives. And then came the first direct confrontation with the affair partner. I didn't seek him out. He reached out. A message appeared on my phone, an unknown number. I know you know. It was short, menacing, unapologetic. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. His words only reinforced what I already knew. My marriage wasn't salvageable. By now, every interaction with Sarah was loaded. Every word, every movement, every glance was carefully analyzed. Even Lily's tablet felt like a reminder of betrayal. I began to understand a harsh truth. Betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about living in its shadow every day. And as the weeks turned into months, I realized something else. I could either be consumed by it, or I could use it as a lens, a brutal, painful lens, to rebuild my life. For Lily's sake, if not for mine. But rebuilding would be neither easy nor simple. Every day was a test of patience, endurance, and emotional resilience. Betrayal isn't a single moment. It isn't a one-time event that you can file away and forget. It escalates, spreads, and infects every corner of your life. And once you discover it through the most personal, intimate place imaginable, your child's device, it feels like there's no safe space left. It started subtly. Sarah began disappearing more often. She claimed extra shifts at work, new projects, or late-night meetings, but the timing never added up. One evening, I noticed her phone buzzing incessantly while she was in the bathroom. A new number, unknown. She silenced it quickly. I felt something I hadn't expected. Fear. Not for myself, but for Lily. If Sarah could deceive me so completely, what kind of environment was Lily growing up in? I began monitoring everything. Not in a way that crossed ethical lines, but enough to confirm my suspicions. Receipts for restaurants, coffee shops, hotels, locations on GPS. Messages that were sent from apps on her work devices. Each piece fit into a larger picture, a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't look away from. And then came the first text from him. "She's worth it. Don't worry, I'm taking care of her." I stared at the screen. The message was simple, innocuous even, but it carried a hidden weight. Someone else was not only aware of what was happening, but was actively encouraging it. Sarah tried to explain when I confronted her again. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "It's emotional, nothing physical. It's not real love." I'm confused. I don't know what to do. But the more she explained, the clearer it became. She was trying to normalize her actions, to rationalize, to manipulate. I couldn't argue. Every word she said only highlighted the extent of the deception. The next week was worse. I came home early one night intending to surprise her with dinner and found nothing. No Sarah. No signs of where she had gone. The house was silent except for Lily, who was innocently watching cartoons in her room. I checked her phone, her work phone, and found new messages. They were brief, coded, and alarming. "Meet tonight, usual place." And there it was again, the proof that the affair had not slowed. It had intensified. I spent that night sitting on the couch, staring at the glow of the tablet, feeling a mixture of anger and heartbreak that I hadn't believed possible. Every notification, every reminder, every sound felt amplified. Every moment was a test of my patience. I realized then something crucial. Sarah's betrayal wasn't just about her desire for someone else. It was about control. It was about power. And it was about hiding something she knew would destroy me if I ever found out. Lily, of course, remained blissfully unaware. Her laughter, her questions, her tiny, insistent "Daddy, just play with me" reminders kept me tethered to reality. She was the only thing that reminded me that life, however fractured, must go on. But even protecting her became a challenge. Sarah was now calculating, careful, and unrepentant. One night, a turning point occurred. I returned home from work to find Sarah in the living room, tablet in hand, pretending to read Lily a bedtime story. She smiled at me, calm, normal, too normal. I couldn't take it anymore. I said the words I had rehearsed in my head for weeks. "Show me everything. I want to see it all. Every message, every photo, every detail." Her face went pale and her hand trembled. For a brief moment, I saw the real her, the part that knew the house of cards was collapsing. She tried to stall. "I can't. It's complicated. I don't want to hurt Lily," but I didn't care anymore. The truth had to come out. No more hiding. She handed me her phone, her face a mask of defeat. I opened Vaultbox, scrolled through the folders, and saw months of messages, emotional confessions, intimate secrets, all tied to a life she had been leading in secret, right under my nose. And then the realization hit me. The affair wasn't just about passion. It wasn't just about desire. It was habit, routine, a world she had built that excluded me entirely. I felt a cold fury rise inside me. Not screaming fury, not violent fury, but the kind that chills your veins, the kind that makes you weigh every option carefully, because any wrong move could shatter what remained of your family entirely. I sat in silence, tablet in hand, letting it all sink in. For the first time, I understood the full scale of the betrayal. Not just the act itself, but the meticulous, calculated way it had been hidden and continued through our child's device. And in that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't act impulsively. I wouldn't lash out or explode in anger. I would survive. I would protect Lily, and I would rebuild my life step by step, with or without Sarah. But I knew one truth that would haunt me forever. From this point forward, nothing would ever be the same. Sometimes betrayal doesn't just linger, it explodes. And when it does, there's no turning back. The discovery of Sarah's affair through Lily's tablet had already shattered my trust, but the real crisis came when the web of lies started affecting everything I had built. My home, my child, and my own sense of self. The tension in the house had been simmering for weeks, but that night it boiled over. Lily was asleep, tucked under her favorite blanket, unaware of the storm. I was in the living room, trying to keep calm, scrolling through Sarah's messages one last time before deciding what to do next. Sarah came into the room, her eyes red, her expression a mixture of fear and resignation. "I think we need to talk," she said softly. I nodded. "I think we do," I replied. The conversation began slowly. She tried to explain again, to justify, to reason. She told me about emotional loneliness, about needing attention, about feeling disconnected. Every word felt rehearsed. Every word felt hollow. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. But words can't undo months of secret messages. Words can't erase the photos on Lily's tablet. Words can't bring back the trust she had destroyed. I realized then that the betrayal was bigger than her. It was bigger than me. It had seeped into every corner of our lives, including the life of our daughter. I couldn't contain my emotions anymore. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. But my voice shook with the weight of my grief and anger. "You used Lily," I said quietly but firmly. "You hid your affair through our child's device. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what you've done to her, to us?" She didn't answer at first. She just looked down, her hands fidgeting. Finally, she whispered, "I know, I'm sorry." But apologies were meaningless at that point. The next few days were unbearable. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every notification, every phone vibration made my heart race. I felt trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And yet, there was Lily. She was still the same cheerful, innocent child, unaware that her parents' marriage was crumbling. I knew I had to protect her at all costs. Her happiness and sense of security became my only focus. One morning, I decided to take action. I created backups of all the evidence on VaultBox. Photos, messages, videos, all saved securely. I documented everything meticulously, knowing that this could become crucial if I needed to take legal action. I also began monitoring Sarah more closely, not in a controlling or abusive way, but to ensure Lily's safety. The stakes were clear. I couldn't trust Sarah completely anymore, but I couldn't let her departure or continued deception harm our daughter. The turning point came when I discovered another layer of deception. A friend of Sarah's, someone I'd never met, sent me a text. "I hope you find out soon. She deserves better. Or worse." The message was cryptic, menacing, and unsettling. I felt my blood run cold. Clearly, this wasn't just a private affair. Others were involved, complicit in her secrecy. I knew I had to confront Sarah again, but I also knew it would be explosive. I had to decide, do I demand the truth now, or do I gather more evidence? I chose the latter. Over the next week, I tracked every message, every secret note, every interaction she had with her affair partner. It was exhausting, emotionally draining, mentally torturous, but it was necessary, because if I acted too soon, without full clarity, I risked making mistakes that could destroy Lily's life even further. Finally, the day came. Sarah returned from work late, exhausted. I sat her down in the living room, tablet and phone in hand. "I want the full truth," I said firmly. "Everything you've hidden, everything you've done, everything you've lied about. Now." Her face turned pale. She tried to protest, to deflect, but I held up the evidence. There was no escape. She broke down. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed every detail, every lie, every meeting, every message. The full scope of the affair and the deliberate use of Lily's tablet finally came to light. I felt something unexpected, a strange sense of closure. Not peace, not forgiveness, but clarity. The truth was out. The deception was exposed. I knew exactly what I was dealing with. And in that moment, I made a decision. I would protect Lily, I would survive, and I would rebuild my life step by step without letting betrayal define me. When betrayal hits this hard, the hardest part isn't discovering it. It's deciding what to do next, because every choice comes with consequences. And once you cross that line, there's no turning back. After Sarah's confession, the house was quiet, ominously quiet. It was a silence filled not with peace, but with tension. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of the curtains, every small noise became magnified. I sat in the living room, tablet in hand, replaying the evidence one last time. I wanted to understand. I wanted clarity. But mostly I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a single detail. Lily remained blissfully unaware. Her laughter and chatter during breakfast felt like a lifeline, tethering me to something pure and real. I knew no matter what happened with Sarah, her childhood could not be tainted by adult betrayal. So I focused on her. I asked about school, about her friends, about her drawings. I smiled. I played along. But behind that smile, my mind was racing. Sarah approached me cautiously. "Can we work on this?" she asked quietly. Her voice trembled, betraying fear and regret. I looked at her. For the first time, I saw not just the woman who had betrayed me, but the person who had once been my partner, my friend, my wife. I felt a flicker of something I didn't expect, compassion. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but a recognition that people are flawed and that mistakes, even devastating ones, are part of being human. The next decision loomed larger than any I had faced in years. Stay and attempt a fragile, trust-based reconciliation for Lily's sake, or separate legally and emotionally and rebuild independently. I weighed the options. The emotional toll of staying seemed unbearable. The logistical challenges of leaving were frightening. But most of all, I considered the example I wanted to set for Lily. After long reflection, I decided I had to prioritize her stability above everything else. Her well-being came first, not anger, not vengeance, not even heartbreak. I set up a plan, structured custody arrangements to ensure she felt safe, monitored digital activity to prevent further exposure to deception, boundaries with Sarah to protect Lily from adult conflict. It was a plan rooted in practicality, not emotion. But sometimes practicality is the only way to survive the aftermath of betrayal. Over the next few weeks, tension remained high. Sarah oscillated between guilt, attempts at normalcy, and emotional outbursts. I stayed firm, documenting interactions and ensuring that nothing undermined Lily's sense of security. It wasn't easy. Each day felt like walking on a tightrope over an emotional chasm. But slowly, the house began to feel less like a battlefield and more like a place where Lily could thrive. Then came an unexpected revelation. While reviewing old backups from Lily's tablet, I discovered hidden messages Sarah had deleted, messages from her affair partner. It was proof that even after confessing, she had not fully cut ties. The betrayal had lingering tentacles, threatening to resurface at any moment. I realized then that forgiveness or even trust was not an option. Not fully, and perhaps it never would be. I confronted her gently but firmly. "No more secrets," I said. "Anything hidden, anything deleted, anything off limits. Bring it into the light, for Lily's sake and for our own." She nodded, tears in her eyes. For the first time, it seemed she truly understood the gravity of what she had done. That moment was pivotal, not because it healed the wounds, but because it established rules for survival. As time passed, life settled into a fragile rhythm. We coexisted for Lily. Conversations were carefully measured. Interactions were formal, polite, and devoid of past intimacy. Yet every now and then, I caught glimpses of her humanity, moments of shared laughter, mutual concern for our daughter, or quiet reflection. I realized that life after betrayal doesn't erase memories. It doesn't restore trust, but it allows for coexistence, careful planning, and ultimately protection of what truly matters: family. When betrayal hits this hard, the hardest part isn't discovering it. It's deciding what to do next, because every choice comes with consequences. And once you cross that line, there's no turning back. After Sarah's confession, the house was quiet, ominously quiet. It was a silence filled not with peace, but with tension. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of the curtains, every small noise became magnified. I sat in the living room, tablet in hand, replaying the evidence one last time. I wanted to understand. I wanted clarity. But mostly I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a single detail. Lily remained blissfully unaware. Her laughter and chatter during breakfast felt like a lifeline, tethering me to something pure and real. I knew no matter what happened with Sarah, her childhood could not be tainted by adult betrayal. So I focused on her. I asked about school, about her friends, about her drawings. I smiled. I played along. But behind that smile, my mind was racing. Sarah approached me cautiously. "Can we work on this?" she asked quietly. Her voice trembled, betraying fear and regret. I looked at her. For the first time, I saw not just the woman who had betrayed me, but the person who had once been my partner, my friend, my wife. I felt a flicker of something I didn't expect, compassion. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but a recognition that people are flawed, and that mistakes, even devastating ones, are part of being human. The next decision loomed larger than any I had faced in years. Stay and attempt a fragile, trust-based reconciliation for Lily's sake, or separate legally and emotionally and rebuild independently. I weighed the options. The emotional toll of staying seemed unbearable. The logistical challenges of leaving were frightening. But most of all, I considered the example I wanted to set for Lily. After long reflection, I decided I had to prioritize her stability above everything else. Her well-being came first, not anger, not vengeance, not even heartbreak. I set up a plan, structured custody arrangements to ensure she felt safe, monitored digital activity to prevent further exposure to deception, boundaries with Sarah to protect Lily from adult conflict. It was a plan rooted in practicality, not emotion. But sometimes practicality is the only way to survive the aftermath of betrayal. Over the next few weeks, tension remained high. Sarah oscillated between guilt, attempts at normalcy, and emotional outbursts. I stayed firm, documenting interactions and ensuring that nothing undermined Lily's sense of security. It wasn't easy. Each day felt like walking on a tightrope over an emotional chasm. But slowly, the house began to feel less like a battlefield and more like a place where Lily could thrive. Then came an unexpected revelation. While reviewing old backups from Lily's tablet, I discovered hidden messages Sarah had deleted, messages from her affair partner. It was proof that even after confessing, she had not fully cut ties. The betrayal had lingering tentacles, threatening to resurface at any moment. I realized then that forgiveness or even trust was not an option. Not fully, and perhaps it never would be. I confronted her gently but firmly. "No more secrets," I said. "Anything hidden, anything deleted, anything off limits. Bring it into the light, for Lily's sake and for our own." She nodded, tears in her eyes. For the first time, it seemed she truly understood the gravity of what she had done. That moment was pivotal, not because it healed the wounds, but because it established rules for survival. As time passed, life settled into a fragile rhythm. We coexisted for Lily. Conversations were carefully measured. Interactions were formal, polite, and devoid of past intimacy. Yet every now and then, I caught glimpses of her humanity, moments of shared laughter, mutual concern for our daughter, or quiet reflection. I realized that life after betrayal doesn't erase memories. It doesn't restore trust, but it allows for coexistence, careful planning, and ultimately protection of what truly matters: family.